Hello everyone, my name is Eddie Myers and I'm a lecturer in organic chemistry in the School of Biological and Chemical Sciences and also the Pathway Director for Medicinal Chemistry. First of all, welcome to University of Galway and congratulations on your achievements so far. No matter what pathway in science you choose, I really hope that this university provides you with the environment that will allow you to unlock your obvious potential and do great things in the future. I have prepared this presentation to tell you about the medicinal chemistry pathway, which is one of many pathways that you can follow within our science program. In this presentation, you will first of all learn what medicinal chemistry is all about, what does a medicinal chemist do, what knowledge and skills you will need to develop, how the medicinal chemistry pathway is structured here in Galway, and also something about careers and future studies. Medicinal chemistry involves the design, synthesis or preparation, and optimization of molecules as drugs for the treatment of disease. Although some medicinal chemistry research takes place in universities like University of Galway, the bulk of medicinal chemistry research takes place within the pharmaceutical industry, which has a big presence in Ireland. Companies like Lilly, Roche, GSK and Pfizer spend billions of dollars on the development of new drugs every year. Of course, the development of new drugs to treat disease is a very noble, satisfying and exciting career. It is difficult to ignore the huge financial rewards on offer for the pharmaceutical industry. For example, here are the top 3 best-selling drugs in 2023. On the left, we have Keytruda, which is used to treat a selection of cancers. In the middle here, we've got Eliquis, which is an anticoagulant and used to treat those who have a high risk of stroke. And on the right here we've got Ozempic, which is used to treat diabetes and obesity. All of these drugs are molecules, which I'm showing here, and drugs can vary in size from very small molecules like Eliquis, which is only a couple of dozen atoms, to medium-sized molecules like Ozempic, which have a couple of hundred atoms, to very big molecules like Keytruda, which have a couple of thousand atoms. So let's have a look at how a drug is developed. It is typically a very long process and can take about 12 to 15 years from initial conception to getting a drug on the market. The first step here, over on the left, is called target selection and is usually carried out by cell biologists. Cell biologists study a disease and identify the main enzymes or proteins that are actively involved in the disease state. Out of these proteins, they might be able to identify one that, if blocked from carrying out its function, leads to a cure or a suppression of the disease state. The next step is called lead discovery. Pharmaceutical companies have vast libraries containing thousands of molecules. They will develop a quick and dirty method that will allow these thousands of molecules to be screened as inhibitors of the target protein or enzyme that was identified by the cell biologist. This screen might reveal about a dozen molecules, so-called lead molecules, that can block the function of the enzyme. However, these molecules would usually have very low potency and would not be suitable as a drug. So that is where the medicinal chemists come in. The medicinal chemists would then look at the shape and properties of these lead molecules and then use computer programs to design similar looking molecules that might lock with the target protein or enzyme better and have better drug properties. They will then prepare these molecules in the lab and then hand them to biochemists, toxicologists, pharmacologists, who will then test these new molecules for their ability to inhibit the target protein or enzyme. They will usually do some of these tests on diseased cells in vitro, for example in a petri dish, and will actually test the molecules against animals as well. These are called in vivo studies, and these animals would have the disease condition that you are trying to target. The biochemist, pharmacologist, or toxicologist might then come back to medicinal chemists with the results and might say, for example, oh, the molecule binds very well to the target, but perhaps it has very high toxicity because it is also interacting with other important biomolecules that are important for good health. It is then up to the medicinal chemist to redesign the molecule and remake more molecules for further testing. So this is called the optimization process and can take many years. Once a drug has finally been reached, it is up to another type of a chemist, called a process chemist, to make kilograms and tons of drug substance for more widespread testing, clinical trials, and ultimately for manufacturing. So as you can see, a medicinal chemist is integral to the drug discovery process and will need to collaborate closely with cell biologists, biochemists, toxicologists, and pharmacologists. Let's briefly look at how Eliquis was developed as a drug. This drug is taken by patients who are at risk of stroke. The drug essentially prevents the body's ability to generate blood clots, which are of course important for wound healing, but in some individuals can lead to blockages of blood vessels and then stroke. So in order to develop a drug that prevents clotting, you need to have a good understanding of the blood clotting process. So if a patient is wounded, blood vessels are broken, leading to bleeding. The clotting process then starts and involves many different proteins and enzymes called clotting factors. There is a protein called prothrombin, and it is cut into two pieces by this enzyme called the Stewart-Power factor, or factor XA. So the Stewart-Power factor cuts prothrombin into two, and one of these pieces is called thrombin. And what thrombin does is that it helps to convert fibrinogen, which is a soluble protein, into fibrin, which is an insoluble fiber. And what these insoluble fibers do is that they help create a mesh that allow platelets to clump together and generate a clot, which then moves into the broken membrane of the blood vessel, closing it up, allowing the wound healing process to begin. So how do we stop clotting? Well, if we can stop prothrombin from being converted into thrombin, then we will then prevent fibrinogen from being converted into fibrin. So if we can generate a small molecule that can bind to the Stewart-Power factor and prevent its ability to convert prothrombin into thrombin, then we will have a good way of blocking the blood clotting process. So now we've selected our target for blood clotting. The target is the Stewart-Power factor. The pharmaceutical industry screened their thousands and thousands of molecules in their libraries against this target, and they came across this interesting lead molecule, which binds okay to the target molecule. Now this is the binding constant, and it's basically a measure of how well the molecule binds to its target. And the smaller this number, the better. So this molecule here has a binding constant of 38.5 micromolar. And so then the medicinal chemists came in and they edited this molecule over many rounds of optimization, finally reaching this molecule here, which is Eliquis. So that's the final drug molecule. And you can see here its binding constant is 0.08 nanomolar. And as I said, the smaller this number, the better. And this molecule binds very well to the target, and it also has good drug properties. And here is a depiction of Eliquis bound to the active site of the Stewart-Power factor. So you can see that this molecule fits really well into the binding site. The job of a medicinal chemist is multifaceted. It involves computational modeling, where you need to use special software and high-performance computing to design drugs that fit with your target. You will then need to design synthetic routes to your new molecules. You will then need to synthesize those molecules using the route you have designed. And then once you've prepared your molecules, you will need to analyze them to make sure that you made the molecule that you set out to. And finally, the medicinal chemist will need to work with other scientists in other disciplines, such as biochemists, cell biologists, toxicologists, pharmacologists. How does one become a medicinal chemist? The first thing you need is a good bachelor's degree in medicinal chemistry or chemistry, thus giving you a strong foundation in chemistry concepts. You will then need to pursue further research in the form of a PhD, which takes about 4 years. Now, some people might do a short master's in between a bachelor's and a PhD. Now, all the big pharma companies, for example, Pfizer, Lilly, Janssen, AstraZeneca, will take PhD graduates into their early stage drug development programs. Now, some people will remain in academia, where they become professors, having their own research groups, and they can pursue medicinal chemistry research independently. Now, although all the big pharma companies have a big presence in Ireland, it is mostly in manufacturing and process chemistry, where the drug is made on large scale and processed into individual doses. The medicinal chemistry or early stage drug development divisions of most pharma companies are located in mainland Europe, for example, Switzerland, Germany, the UK and the US. Now, that's not to say that there isn't some medicinal chemistry being done in Ireland. It usually happens in smaller startup companies, perhaps those companies that are spun out from universities. Many of you will be looking to go straight into industry after your bachelor's or master's degree, and there are plenty of opportunities. You will be very attractive to the pharma companies in Ireland who will be looking to get you into their graduate programs, where you can develop your skills as an analytical chemist in regulatory affairs or in technology transfer. However, you can also move into teaching, forensics, law, journalism, go on to do medicine. You can also be involved in radiochemistry. So here you're involved in generating molecules that are used in PET scans. So many hospitals will hire chemists for that division of their organization. You can also move into business. So for example, business consultancy companies often hire chemists because of their problem solving abilities. So you can get into that side of things as well. Those of you who do continue on to PhD in medicinal chemistry or other forms of chemistry, there are other options besides going into the pharma industry. So you can go into second and third level teaching. You can get into national and EU level policy advice. You can become a process chemist instead of a medicinal chemist. So process chemistry basically involves generating synthetic routes to kilograms and tons of material. So you also have to interact with chemical engineers. You can also go into law. So patent law companies often hire PhD level graduates and then they train them up in patent law and you can become a patent attorney. You can move into scientific publishing and you can also move into business consulting. So there are many opportunities. So let's talk about medicinal chemistry at University of Galway. So medicinal chemistry is a pathway within the Bachelor of Science program. The Bachelor of Science program has the code GY301. Now, the medicinal chemistry pathway starts in year 2, but in order to be eligible to join the medicinal chemistry pathway, you will have to have done in year 1 chemistry, physics, biology, and then one of these 3 here. So mathematics, applied mathematics, or mathematical studies. So each of these 4 modules is worth 15 credits. So that's 60 credits in total. So every year you will do 60 credits of modules. So at the end of year 1, so if you've done those 4 modules, you will be eligible to apply for entry into the medicinal chemistry pathway. And we usually accept about 25 students every year. So if you're successful in getting into the medicinal chemistry pathway, in year 2 you will follow 40 credits involving various types of chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry. You will also have a specialized module in medicinal chemistry. You will also do modules in molecular and cell biology, pharmacology, and so all of these are worth 40 credits. But then you will have 20 credits left, and you can choose a variety of other modules, for example in biochemistry, microbiology, physics, for example. And then in year 3, you again do some more chemistry modules. You will do modules in drug design and drug discovery, also do modules in toxicology, and also on validation in industry. You'll also do some modules on the use of computers and computer software in chemical research. And then finally, you've got year 4. Again, you will do another series of modules in chemistry and medicinal chemistry, but the most important aspect of year 4 is your independent research project. So I'll talk a little bit about that now. In your final year, you will spend the first semester working in the research labs of one of the lecturers or professors who are working in the area of medicinal chemistry. So there are many people working in that area. For example, Laura and Paul are developing synthetic methods for preparing drug molecules. Myself developed synthetic methods for preparing peptide and protein-based therapeutics. Ben looks at nanomaterials as therapeutics. Then you've got Konstantina, Andrea and Mihai, who look at formulation and drug delivery. Olivia Toma, who is the head of school, he looks at isolating natural products from marine environments, looking at their structure and whether they have any biological activity. Luca, Pau and Andrea look at metal-based therapeutics, particularly for cancer. Donald Leach, who is our Dean of Graduate Studies, develops methods for diagnostics. You've got Paul and Helen, who develop sugar-like molecules as anti-infective and anti-cancer therapeutics. And then finally you've got David and Peter, who look at computational and experimental approaches to understanding biomolecular interactions. So how biomolecules interact with one another, how they interact with small molecules, which of course is very important for medicinal chemistry. So there are many opportunities within our school, and so many of our students who carry out their research project sometimes get published, so they get their name on papers. And so it's a very important aspect of our program. A common question from students is, do I need Leaving Cert chemistry in order to follow the medicinal chemistry or chemistry pathways? And the answer is no. So we teach first year chemistry, assuming that you have no background in chemistry. So as long as you've got motivation and enthusiasm, there's no reason why you can't do very well in chemistry and then follow the pathway in years 2 to 4. Another common question from students is whether medicinal chemistry is difficult. I will admit that most students do find chemistry challenging or difficult. However, one of the main reasons for attending university is to be challenged, as it's the only way of unlocking your potential. For example, professional athletes only get to where they are through hard work, dedication, and making sure that they spend some of their time operating at or close to the pain barrier. It is the same for chemistry. In order to become a great chemist, you do need to challenge yourself. However, what I will say is that it is an extremely rewarding profession. It is also one of the most powerful skills that you can develop as a human being, as you have the capability to solve many of today's grand challenges in health and energy. Therefore, at University of Galway, you should expect and demand to be challenged. I would also add that all employers have a huge respect for chemistry graduates. They are especially attracted to their ability to deal with challenging situations and to solve problems, and also for their critical thinking skills. Before I finish, I'd like to mention 2 aspects that I forgot to cover in the previous slides. The first one is that the medicinal chemistry pathway within the science program is accredited by the Royal Society of Chemistry. So you know you're getting a quality education in chemistry, so a quality degree. The second thing I'd like to mention is that if you are on the medicinal chemistry pathway, then at the beginning of third year or at the beginning of fourth year, you can decide to move to the chemistry pathway. Now, some students might want to do that because although they're interested in chemistry, they might be more interested in an aspect of chemistry outside of medicinal chemistry. So you're always free to move to the chemistry pathway. So if you've got any questions or you'd like to discuss the pathway further, then don't hesitate to contact me by email at eddie.myers@universityofgalway.ie. You can also drop by my office, which is room 111, which is located in the Organic Chemistry Laboratory, downstairs in the chemistry section of the Arts and Sciences Concourse. And depending on numbers, if enough people contact me, I'd be happy to perhaps organise for us to go for a coffee, and I can tell you more about the pathway. You can ask questions so that you can make an informed decision about which pathway you'd like to choose. So finally, I hope that your first couple of weeks at University of Galway are enjoyable. You enjoy the lectures, the labs. Hope you meet lots of new friends. So best of luck, and I look forward to meeting you in the next couple of months and maybe years. So best of luck.